This is something to talk about from the Bainbridge Island Senior Community Center. We offer programs on all kinds of things of interest, Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 1:30. So join us. Check out what's coming up by going to biseniorcenter.org/calendar. I would like to mention that we are sponsored by Fieldstone Communities of Bainbridge Island. They offer memory care and are building assisted and independent living out on Rolling Bay. To learn more about those residences and day stay and respite programs, you can call 360-689-4314 and schedule a tour. Find out more. I'd also like to acknowledge that we are gathering on the ancestral homeland of the Suquamish people, the people of the clear salt water, who've lived on the waters of the Salish since time immemorial. We honor them and we are grateful for their hospitality. Today we have James Host and Mary Ann Comfer here from Kitsap Computing Seniors, and we'll talk more about Kitsap Computing Seniors in a minute. But first, James, maybe you could introduce yourself and talk a little bit about an interesting new web domain that you might find, and it might throw you off. It certainly threw me off.
Awesome. Yes. Hi, my name is James Host. I'm first vice president of the Kitsap Computing Seniors, as well as just a general tech enthusiast and professional. I've been doing the content distribution, making the internet work for about 20 years. So I've got some history on this, and something just interesting happened. So let me pull up a screen share here and get going. You might lose my face, but that's probably a good thing. Let's see here. And I can do a slideshow. All right. Does that look good? All right. So what we're going to talk about today briefly, it should take only about 5 minutes, is just a quick rundown on zip files versus zip domains, which is something that just came out, right? So this is brand new. Let's talk about what the difference is here. Why are we talking about this? First, it's just confusing when something that we rely on changes form, changes factor. It becomes something new and unexpected, which is what's happening here. It's a low sophistication attack. This does not mean you're going to get hacked right off the bat. This still is going to require, falling for a scam or something of that nature. It's a new avenue, a new way to do it. So why are we talking about this? Well, Google, the company, like Google, the search engine, as well as just, Google, they run a whole cloud, they run a whole bunch of different services. They really like to register new TLDs, but what is a TLD? Let's just take a quick peek here. So we all know just general computing, what a file extension is. So you have here is an example, quarterly results, doc, and google.com. And the TLD is that .com part. So the difference. You wouldn't ever think of you open up a file that's a .x, you expect Word to pop up. You go to a website.com, you expect to go to a website. You wouldn't mix those up. You're not going to open a .com file unless you're dealing with ancient DOS, and docx isn't going to get you anywhere online. But let's just go ahead and make a couple more examples here. .jpeg, it's a photograph. .org, again, a website. .text, like a notepad file, just a brief text document. .info. Ooh, I don't like that domain very much. Stock tips Z327, that looks sketchy, but it still is a web domain, and I know where I'm going. If I click that, I know a web browser is going to pop up. Let's get to what's changed here now. Client.docs.zip. Well, that's a zip file, and that's got stuff in it, right? Here's what's new and what's scary is that client.docs.zip also could be a website now. Everybody's a little bit, confused. Why? Why does that mean it's a website now? Well, because Google registered .zip as a TLD, and so you can register domains now like that. Another one that just happened, .move. That used to be a video file in the Apple parlance. You could have a dance recital video, .move, and you open that, you expect QuickTime to come up and play the video. Now that's also a domain that you can register. Can be kind of confusing. So it's confusing at best or compromising at worst. Remember that first introductory slide? We'll go back here. All these lists on the left here, all these zip files, these are common files that you would actually download once upon a time. but these are all registered domains now too, for no reason other than to trick people into clicking on them and going somewhere that you're not supposed to go. So here's some examples off of Twitter. Everything in a red border here, and you don't have to read it, this isn't important, but these are all actual files that have been commonly served over the internet. Like, MSI afterburner setup.zip, that's a motherboard utility. All of these are things you would normally click on, download, and install on your computer, and now they have a completely new meaning. So how to tell? Just be aware of it, really. Hover links on your emails, be extra careful. It used to be easy to tell, and now it's kind of confusing. Sometimes, a .zip, you meant that to be a download. Now it could be a website too. So just be, part of this slide didn't load. Oh, well, I lost one image here, but I'll just skip this slide. Here's a Microsoft Office.zip and an example, and it's taking me to a Office 365 login page. If you notice in the upper left corner there, that padlock is locked. It looks secure. The domain looks good. It says HTTPS. That checks all the boxes, right? That should be good to go. I should log in. No, because that is actually a web server that's owned by somebody you don't know. That's not Microsoft. That's not Office. That's not official. You're trusting that because it looks familiar, but as soon as you put in your login information, that's gone to a hacker, and now they're taking over your accounts. Very, very much not good. So I had a little demo I could run here. I don't know why it's not being very friendly to me here, but let's just take a peek. Docs here. Here's a document. Let me see if I can actually screen share my whole screen. So that would actually help. Let's go on my whole desktop here. All right. Now, here's the documents from the client docs.zip. So if I click this, be careful. This isn't a download. This is going to a web page. And I click that, it just downloaded something to my desktop. Doc viewer. What's that? Let me just take a quick, let me run that. Doc viewer. This one just says gotcha. But that was a file. That's a program. That is a shell script that could run whatever it wants on my computer. And it just popped itself on my desktop, all because I clicked client docs.zip in this email. So that's the takeaway. Just be careful. It's new. It doesn't make sense if you're not looking for it. Be aware that that exists, and stay safe, everyone. That's
James, is anybody using this legitimately as far as we know?
Well, it is all legitimate. That's the scary part. There's nothing wrong about it. Like that client docs example where it downloaded that zip file to me on my desktop, I made that. That's I own that domain. I registered it fair and square. I have a SSL certificate. It's secure. Every browser will trust it. To any unknown eye, it looks 100% legitimate, and technically it is legitimate. It's just, it has no real reason to exist. Nobody's going to think to go to a .zip domain and download that. So just like I said, this is just an awareness of, what the dangers are out there.
And you told us that .mov is another one that's out there.
Correct. Yeah. So there's going to be more of these. They have a huge list of domains well, not just domains, the top level domains, the coms, the .nets, the orgs. They're registering lots of these. So this is not going to be the last time this happens.
This is a challenge. We've been working on trying to look at emails that look suspicious. And they say they're one thing, and then when you hover over them, they reveal they're something else. And the idea that just going to a website can start a download is a little frightening to some of us, certainly me.
Yeah, well, I made that one specifically intentionally frightening, but you can do that anyway with any other normal domain. But it's just the conflation between something you were expecting and then a behavior you're expecting. Because like if I went back to that email, it said download this file. I clicked it and I got a download. Well, that makes sense. I wanted a download, right? That's what it should have done. But I double click it or I run it on the command line and bam, the hackers just got their way. So just be careful. Yep.
There's a lot of stuff that if it looks a little bit squirrely, just back away. I noticed on Facebook today that there was some little ad that was masquerading as Facebook navigation. And I mean, it's just, unfortunately, we have to stop our impulsive selves.
Well, and I mean, I did have one last slide that I think I cut off before I was sharing, but just the normal tips apply here. I'm just going to get my browser back here.
Okay.
So just like a last little takeaway here, always have your takeaways are: know the party who's sending you whatever you're receiving, expect to receive it, don't open things that are a surprise or coming out of nowhere. Always double check for those legitimate domains, and when you're seeing a domain, I mean .com, .net, not .zip for a download. And then be on the lookout for the typical signs of scams. They're going to come with a sense of urgency. They're going to want you to click on it now. They're going to act very familiar, like they've already had a conversation with you, and they might offer a problem to overcome or a prize to be awarded. There's always a something on the hook to get it. So just same behavior as always. Just be on the watch out, and if something seems too good to be true, or they seem to want you to do it right away, that's never a good sign.
Thank you, James. I really appreciate that information. Now let's turn to Marianne Confar,
yes.
Confar, who are you the president right now of
Oh,
Kitsap?
no. No,
Okay.
no.
Okay.
I'm the I just took over responsibility for keeping track of membership and who's paid their dues and all
well,
of
then
that.
that makes you even more important.
I guess I'm the one that's sending out the letter saying, please send in your dues. We need to buy parts for these computers that we're fixing for seniors and students and whatnot. Yeah.
Great. Yeah. So I'm hoping that we might talk a little bit about that program and some of the things that Kitsap Computing Seniors does. So
Okay.
you mentioned right there that there's that you do a lot of work. You have volunteers who help repurpose computers. Tell us a little bit about that. Get us started.
And James is one of them. As long as I have been involved with Kitsap Computing Seniors, and that might go back to 2003 or 2004, they have accepted donations of people's used computers when people are upgrading to something else, and they've reconditioned, they've wiped the hard drive, they get every bit of personal information off of them, reload the operating system and basic programs that people need, word processing and stuff like that. And then they have gifted those computers to low-income seniors, to various activities in the community where there were people that didn't have computers and needed them. In the last 20 years, since the time that I first started teaching beginning computer classes for Kitsap Computing Seniors, I've become a librarian. I came to KCS because I had just finished 5 years working for the Gates Foundation. I was on the US Library Program, and I traveled all over the country and set up donated computers in public libraries, very particularly small rural libraries, and got a lot of communities connected to the internet for the first time. And so that led me to go to library school, because I saw what a big difference, particularly small libraries in rural areas, could make in people's lives and being connected to the internet. And that led me, once the program at the Gates Foundation was done, I continued to teach absolute beginners how to use computers. And I did that with hands-on classes with Kitsap Computing Seniors for a number of years. I took a little hiatus for a couple of years while I was being worthy matron of my Eastern Star chapter. And recently I have come back to teach again. I had just started teaching some in-person how to click a mouse without cutting yourself type classes at the Sylvan Way Library when the pandemic hit. I think we probably had 3 get-togethers, and the pandemic hit, everything shut down. We were all kept out of the library. And I am currently a librarian, a part-time librarian at Olympic College. So the college gave me a Zoom account, and I thought, well, this is great. And so I proceeded to start teaching computer classes, or basically offering question and answer sessions, and I would come up with a topic that people might be interested in. Simple things like, how do you copy and paste? Or the stuff that James is talking about, how do you evaluate an email message and try and figure out whether it's a scam or not? So we would do all of this stuff via Zoom. And I, like you, I've been recording these sessions for now, gosh, almost 3 years. And I have a YouTube channel that anybody can go to and watch any one of these sessions and listen to all the stuff that we talked about and see what we shared on the screen and whatnot. And in the last few months, the Sylvan Way Library, the main branch in Bremerton, has begun allowing us to come back into the library to offer hands-on classes again. So my current schedule of classes that I offer are the first, third, and fifth Thursdays of the month. We do it via Zoom. And the second and fourth Thursdays are the Thursdays that the library will let me use their meeting room. And KCS has given me about 10 used reconditioned laptops, and I schlepp them over there to the library those Thursday mornings and set them up in the meeting room, and people bring their own computers. And we spend about an hour and a half from 11 to 12:30 just talking about questions that people have. How does this work? How do I make that work? How do I change my screen? How do I make the text larger or smaller? What the heck is a browser? All those kinds of basic questions that salespeople are perfectly happy to sell you a computer. Your 12-year-old nephew will set it up for you, zip, 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 without actually explaining what they've done. And then suddenly you're on your own. And the family says, it's okay, just play with it. And people don't even know how to begin playing with it. So I've kind of been on a mission ever since the Gates Foundation of helping people. They're not always old. There's a lot of younger people as well that haven't learned how to use a computer other than maybe some specific little thing that they did on a pre-programmed computer wherever it was that they worked, but trying to help people put all the pieces together and learn the basics so that they can function in today's world. This became more important during the pandemic, especially when people were shut down and needed to use their computers to go to church, to visit with their doctors, to have Thanksgiving dinner with their family, you know, all of those sorts of things. And so Zoom has become a much bigger deal. So anyway, and that's the kind of been the mission of Kitsap Computing Seniors all this time, is to help people learn and become more comfortable with technology at their own speed, not at the speed of the 12-year-olds, not at the speed of the young people that live in this world and they live and breathe this stuff all the time. I went all the way through school the first time with a manual typewriter. So I totally understand where my adult students are coming from. And at the same time, while they've been offering classes and offering some kind of workshops, even if they were only via Zoom, the volunteers have also been receiving people's laptops that they are upgrading to another machine, and they donate their laptops, and we have taken some desktop computers and some all-in-ones. And guys like James, they wipe them clean, they get everything off of them, they reload the operating system from scratch, they put the basic software on there, and then they make them available to people in the community. If I may share my screen.
Okay, I was just going to say there's a question right now from Rita while I set you up to share your screen.
Okay. Rita, what's your question?
Okay, so if we have laptops or stuff that might be able to get donated, who do we contact? Because
yeah, go ahead.
My daughter teaches out at Silverwood School in Paulsbo, and they do a lot of upgrading stuff. And I don't know what they've done with some of their other equipment. And so it just came to my mind that you guys might be a good source.
We're a great source. What we've got is that I believe it's the mom and pop shop PC Parts and Services, and they're on Sylvan Way. They're right across from the post office and the main library in that little strip mall there. That family-run operation will receive donated computers on behalf of KCS, and then guys like James, there's Jim Host and Jim Bromley are the two volunteers that kind of head up the New Horizons program, and they will collect them from PC Parts and Services and do the overhaul. In the last year or so, since the library at Olympic College has opened back up and let students back in again, I have referred several of the students at the college also to the New Horizons program so that they can get computers. Because I see people who are desperately trying to improve their lives, to get an education, learn how to do something, and then they don't have a computer. or they
Well-
don't have, and the library, the college only has about 20 computers that they can loan in a student population of 5,000. So,
Well, I was gonna say the other thing too that is of interest, that I think is just awesome with like what you've done with your Zoom stuff and your YouTube, is
Mhm.
that sometimes there's just there's only certain things that I might want to learn. I don't want to know everything
Mhm.
that my laptop can do, because there are certain things I just want to do, but I want to be able to do them well. You know,
Right,
I
right.
say, again, the kids go, "Oh, here, it's really intuitive, Mom. Just do it." And I go,
Mm.
"Yeah, this is my intuition. I can't
It's-
do all this, and I need your help." But
It's not intuitive.
exactly, I know.
This is the website for Kitsap Computing Seniors. The address is kitsapcomputingseniors.org. And
Okay.
you remember that James was talking about different top level domains, .org. To get a .org domain to add on to the end of your name,
Right.
you normally have to be a nonprofit organization. However, I will say that that does not guarantee that you are benign. White supremacist organizations are often registered as nonprofits. So that doesn't mean that everybody that is a .org is benign, but generally speaking, there's a certain amount of vetting that's gone on. So on the Kitsap Computing Seniors website, if you are interested in donating a computer, right here across the top, we have a donate button. And so when you click the donate button and click donate a PC, it there we go. It jumps you over to the New Horizons page, and it describes that we completely wipe your personal information, refurbish your old computer, and donate it. If you are a person that wants to donate a computer, you can either email or call this phone number, and we'll call you back. I just set up this phone number recently, and it goes straight to voicemail, since all of us are volunteers and none of us can answer the phone all the time. But I picked up a couple of voicemails just this week. One was from a local church that had 4 laptops to donate. And I told them, take them over to PC Parts and Services, and we'll come and pick them up and we'll refurbish them from that church. So you can click this button and you can email questions about donating, or you can call this phone number and we'll say the same thing. And if you are a person who is looking for a computer, when I have a student come into me at the college and I can tell that they really, really need a computer, I'll take them to this page and I'll click here to get the application. So here's the application that a person fills out in order to request a donated computer. And you need to fill out both pages, the first page and the second page. It tells you what we can give you and what we expect from you in return. And you sign this and print it out and send it. It gives you an address to mail it to, and you send it in. And then the people on our committee will evaluate it and get back to you about getting you a donated computer. So I
will just note that if you don't have a computer and you need to print something out, you can usually do that by going to the library and getting this work.
Absolutely. And or talking to your 12-year-old nephew, or whoever else it is that helps you with this stuff. But our goal really is to get seniors, mostly seniors, because that's most of us that went all the way through school without a computer. I'm going to stop sharing for a moment. Most of us are the ones that went all the way through school without learning how to do this stuff. Fortunately, in 1969, when I was a senior in high school, my mother put her foot down and absolutely insisted that I take a typing class. And so I took 1 semester of personal typing. She said, you're going to college, you're going to have to type papers. You can either pay somebody else to do it, you can learn how to do it yourself. And that 1 semester of personal typing, who knew in 1969 that there would be personal computers? That has stood me in great stead ever since. So, I didn't know, and I'm surrounded by all these other people that are my same age group or more, that we all went through school. Maybe if we were lucky, we learned how to type a little bit. I can type letters, but not punctuation. And now we live in this world where if we want to renew our license tabs or make an appointment, I have an appointment with my doctor tomorrow morning. It's a Zoom appointment, and we have to learn how to use this technology.
Yes,
So
it is amazing. It is amazing that we, through COVID, actually made a huge transition, and many of us are stumbling along with the computers that we had to acquire to get connected.
Well, it kickstarted a lot of people. when COVID shut everything down, a lot of people who were very reluctant to use a computer discovered that they could use a computer to go to church, to get together with family. I think there were, there was more than one Zoom Thanksgiving dinner, or things like that. It sort of demystified this tool because suddenly people could see that this machine had something that they could use. I recently started teaching every couple of weeks. I do a little session for a bunch of seniors over at Our Lady Star of the Sea Catholic Church. And some of the people in there, are definitely in the category of can't click a mouse without cutting themselves. And they came because they feel like maybe this is something I should learn how to do. But one of the first questions that I ask, particularly a new group of people, is, what do you want to be able to use this tool to do? And often the first answer that I will get is, I don't know. And then we start talking about what are the things that you can do, the Zoom Thanksgiving dinner, or the doctor's appointment, or the being able to go to church, or a meeting. I have as many meetings via Zoom as I do any other format nowadays. And these are things that people want to participate in. And that provides the incentive to learn how to use the tool. Because I tell them the computer's not the end in itself. All it is the thing that gets you where you want to go. Because I was at Our Lady Star of the Sea Church and I had all these dear little elderly people sitting in front of me. I said, here's something cool that you can do with a computer. And I opened up a window and I took them on a virtual tour of Jerusalem. And they were like, whoa, and then I took them to the Vatican. Woo, and I showed them the Sistine Chapel. And wow, they thought that was, I said, you can do this. If you learn how to use this tool, I said, you can send the Pope an email message. There are all kinds, but you have to provide the incentive. Back when I was first teaching for the Gates Foundation, the US Library Program did all 50 states, but they started in some of the poorest states. And so some of the states that we were in initially were in the South. And I remember all those little old lady Southern librarians who were getting the internet in their libraries for the first time. And they just really didn't know about this at all. But I would go in and I would set up these donated computers and I would do a workshop for them and whatnot. And then by way of an example, I would show them Cindy's list of genealogy websites. And that was it. Show them Cindy's list and back up, because boy, did they ever want to learn how to use that mouse, because those little old ladies had a serious case of the tombstone twitch. And they wanted to be able to do genealogy more than anything in the world. And it was like, get out of my way. I want to learn how to use this mouse so I can get to this page and I can look all this cool stuff up. So it's just a matter of finding the hook. What is it that you want to use this tool to do? You want to find wiring diagrams for your 1995 Honda Civic? The library has them, and I can show you how to get them, all that stuff. So that's really the key. And I think that's that we've been doing at KCS. So we help get computers into people's hands and we help people learn how to use them, but at their speed. And based on, as you say, Rita, this is the kind of thing that I want to learn how to do. If you were to come to my Zoom class on Thursday morning, usually the first thing that I ask everybody after we say hi, because it's gotten to be quite the social group, is I say, okay, what's going on in your computer world this week? What questions do you have? What weird thing happened or thing came up that you wanted to learn about? And put it out for questions and find out what people are interested in. And then they'll volunteer. I want to learn how to do this and such. What, for instance, Rita, do you want to be able to use your computer to do? Use you as an example. Gotta unmute. You can hold down the space bar. Yeah, I was going to say that'll also unmute.
I got the damn kids are popping up here on the thing. I've gotten pretty good at what I want to do. Some of the things that I really like with Zoom and being able to use my iPad for is to watch the city council meetings.
Oh yeah.
And commission meetings. There's all kinds of government stuff that we normally, you can't get to, or it's hard to get to, especially in the wintertime, and you don't want to sit through 3 hours of stuff. So you can do, and then the fact that they're recorded so I can look at them the next day if I can't watch them that particular night is really awesome. When we have being able to do FaceTime. And so I've kind of, I figured out what I really like to do. And so
What you
I've been
need to
able to
do.
do that. But when I first was doing it, I thought, I don't want to know all this stuff. You know, the
No, I
kids
don't
go,
want to
"You do
memorize
this,
everything.
this and this." So they don't. But I may come to one of your Zoom classes, and when I decide if there's something else new that I want to learn.
Yeah, come with a question. Well,
And
the thing too.
Marcy Burkell, who's also here, has been a regular on these programs because I think we started during COVID to meet 3 times a week and have a variety of different conversations. Yeah,
Sure.
Marcy, you have something to add?
Yeah. Well, no, I just wanted to say, just thank you to James, because that's the kind, it's the new things. I have been using computers since the mid 80s. So I do know about them. I just don't keep up with the latest thing. The zip was a brand new bit of
Yeah.
information that I really wanted to have. But I would like to, would want to become a supporter. I did not know about your group. But certainly want to follow up what they're doing. I did volunteer when the internet first arrived. I was a volunteer at the library with other seniors, so they could figure out how to use the internet to send email. So
Yeah,
I went
That's
back
a-
a ways.
Yeah,
That's a great
I
thing.
was just going to add that membership at Kitsap Computing Seniors is the same price as the senior center here at Bainbridge Island. It's $20 a year.
Yeah.
That's all. And I'm sure that being a member supports your programs as well as getting information like the kind that
Yeah.
James shared this morning.
That's exactly it. That's precisely what we do is that money, we're an all volunteer organization. That money goes into the bank and it gets used, when James and James get a used computer to recondition, then what they end up doing is they may have to buy RAM chips, or they might have to get a new keyboard for it or something like that. They do whatever it is that they need to do to get the thing working properly, and then then it's ready to go, and it's ready to hand off to someone else. Then when they hand off a system to somebody, they most often do laptops these days, but we have received, as I say, a few desktops and or tower computers are, I personally think, sometimes a better choice to give to somebody who's really only ever going to use their computer at home, because you can have a bigger monitor. And I don't know about you, but I'm using readers these days, and a large monitor is a lot. I have an iPad too. I actually sit in bed and watch the news with my iPad at night because the dogs want to go to bed early, so they don't want to sit on the couch and watch TV. So we sit in bed with the iPad and watch the news, but and with my glasses on. But if you're learning how to use a computer, it really helps if you can have a larger screen so that you can see what you're doing. So I've been encouraging James to go ahead and take some of those tower computers for people that don't need to be portable and they're just going to use their computer at home. Accept a donation of a desktop computer with a larger monitor, because you can pick up, if we don't have one, you can pick up a large monitor at the Goodwill for like $20, and and then really be able to see what it is that you're looking at on the screen. But yeah, Marcy, let me share screen again. On our webpage, you can donate money, you can donate a PC, and what I personally think even more wonderful is to join the organization and become a member, because your membership goes in, it's $20 a year, $22 if you use PayPal. But join and help us that way participate in some of these classes. Marcy, if you have taught people the basics of how to use a computer in the past, you would be a welcome addition to either the in-person classes or the Zoom classes, just to help answer questions. When I'm in my Zoom group on Thursday mornings and somebody throws out a question, I don't automatically give the answer. I quite frequently throw it back at the class and say, well, that's a really good question. How would I go about answering that question? If I didn't know what the answer was. So, I try to give them the tools. It's the teach to fish a method of teaching, so that they can operate without having somebody else that they always have to go
Teach
to.
a fish how to swim rather than a fisher how to
teaching
catch.
fish how to swim. On the website, under About KCS, we have an event calendar, and this is awfully small print. I got to see about making it larger, but it goes straight to a calendar that we have. I will zoom in on the calendar a bit. And if you pick an event and click on it, like tomorrow, my beginning computer Zoom class, my absolute beginner class here on the 31st. Where did it go? No, I guess it's the 1st. And you click on that, it gives you all the details. Oh, this particular one is not mine. This is Bremerton Housing Authority. They're offering a free computer class at the Summit Apartments on Thursday from 12 to 1 p.m. And I put in here a map so that a person can click on the map and figure out how to get there. Use a Google map, how to get there. And if you don't know how to use a Google map, come to my Zoom class and we'll talk about how to use a Google map. That's one of the things that I demonstrate. And then I also give them a link in here on where all of their classes are, because Bremerton Housing Authority offers free classes on smartphones, because each smartphone is different. And they've got a bunch of volunteers that teach smartphones, and you bring your smartphone to their class and they will work with you one-on-one. I think that's a real biggie. And they also have beginning computer classes. So that's something that you can find on our website, is this calendar of events, the stuff that we're doing. And let me see here, under, where is it? It's events. Under events on our website, we talk about the different things that we do. Our general meetings, which we're now dark for the summer, but we'll come back in September. But we have general meetings once a month, and they have speakers of general interest. We had a really interesting speaker last month talking about artificial intelligence. He's a guy that's on the artificial intelligence team at Microsoft, but he lives here in the Manette neighborhood right down the hill from me, works remote. And he came and gave us the rundown on what's happening with artificial intelligence at Microsoft. We have, Larry and I both teach classes, so there's a list. It jumps you down here to the classes that we teach, and it shows you where we teach them, and it points you to the calendar to get the specific information. See, also there is, if you're an Apple person, there's the Kitsap Mac users group. If you're not familiar with them, this is an informal group of people that get together once a month for lunch, I think it is, or breakfast, and share information. And so the Kitsap Mac users group meets on the first Tuesday. So that'll be like next week at the Cloverleaf restaurant. And they come early and have lunch, and then they have a kind of a round table where people ask questions and give answers and help each other out. So a lot of different pieces of information are available off of our website, if you can get folks to go to our website.
So we will definitely add that link to the other information in the YouTube version of this. Just look down in the related link area. And also, you have a YouTube channel, Marianne, so we'll make a link to that as well.
I will send, if I haven't sent it to you already, I will send that to you as well. And you're welcome to look at all those videos. I have also a Google Drive that, as I go along and I figure out how to do something, I try to make handouts. I'm a big person for handouts with pictures and circles and arrows. And so I have a whole collection of handouts that I try to share or make available that people can look at, download, print, share with their friends, make yourself a binder, that has all of that information. My stuff tends to be, sorry, Rita, more Windows centric than Apple centric. But yeah, but sometimes the basic stuff about once you get a browser open, it doesn't matter whether you're using it in Windows or on an Apple computer, how you do a search, how you think about search engines versus browsers. I find a lot of ongoing confusion about the difference between what is a browser and what is a search engine, and how you use a search engine. And as a librarian, since what I do is spend a lot of time searching for information, I'd like to help people figure out what's the best way to find what it is that you're looking for. And then from James's perspective, how do you vet it to make sure that it's reliable? So at the college, of course, we're constantly teaching, trying to educate our students in how to evaluate the quality of the information that they're looking at. How to get the best.
That's always been something that is part of higher education, but boy, it's education for all of us these days, because
it is.
with the addition of things like we're reading a lot about Bard and Chat GPT and GPT, the idea that we're getting information that looks and acts like it's responsible or trustworthy,
Right.
but it's not. We need to kind of poke at it a little bit to see if it's something we want to believe.
We want to vet it. Nowadays, when somebody tells me that there's alligators in the sewer in New York, the first question out of my mouth is, where did you hear that? Where did you read that? What is your source of information? I had a friend a couple of weeks ago who called me, or we were in the course of a regular visit, I guess, and she said that she had just read that there were thousands of illegal immigrants pouring across the border, the southern border, contaminating our food sources, contaminating our vegetables. And I said, where did you read that? And she clammed up and she said, I don't know. So of course, quickly to one side, I opened up a browser and I went searching for that, basically that information with my librarian skills. And I found that there was one local newspaper in Arizona had interviewed 2 farmers who had people going through their fields, and, probably using their, peeing in their fields. And I said to Don, I said, one local newspaper, 2 farmers, and it's probably gotten blown out of proportion by other news outlets. But I don't think there are hordes of people coming across the board. But I said, but we have to look that stuff up. Because when she first said this to me, I said, where did you get this information? I would have heard this. I read the New York Times. I read the Washington Post. I have not heard this in any major news source. And I would think if we were really under attack, that I would have read about it somewhere. I would have heard about it somewhere. So I went looking for the source of that information. So quite frequently, over and over again, every few weeks it comes up. We talk about how you vet that stuff. And I show people some of my favorite websites for vetting information. Are you familiar with the website All Sides? The All Sides website. Oh, let me show you. I'll go back and do a screen share. The All Sides website I came across. Let me look and see here. Let's do All Sides. There it is. It's All Sides is a nonprofit organization that is interested, that rates the bias on various news outlets. And so they will show you, they will do fact checking, and they will show you, like on this particular question, was Amanda Gorman's poem banned from a Florida school? They will show you what the news sources from the center were saying about it, what the news sources from the right were saying about it, what the news sources from the left were saying about it, because their contention is that all media has some kind of bias, not necessarily a hard right or a hard left, but everybody does, and that it's important for us to read information from lots of different places and sort of triangulate and get our own conclusions. So they cover lots and lots of different media, lots and lots of different questions. And whenever I'm looking for something, I can look up a particular media site. Like here, I can go in here and I can look for, the Seattle Times. And it'll rate the Seattle Times. It'll tell me what, let me pull this up here. Where's my stuff on the Seattle Times? You're not interested in that.
Yeah, I see there. It says it's center.
It's center, right?
Right
okay,
there. Down a little bit more.
Center.
It says news sources, Seattle Times.
Yeah.
We say it's center. What do you think?
Right, because they are constantly asking for input. This is over here on the right-hand side. This is their community, that is weighing in on how they perceive the information that comes from the Seattle Times. But you can pick all newspapers, magazines, and I think probably media, probably streaming services as well, and run them through All Sides. And it's, as I say, it's a nonprofit, nonpartisan organization. So it's one of my favorites that I share with people. I'm actually building a class, a true introduction to computer classes at the college that's going to start with an hour on how to use a mouse. It's not a 5-minute operation. It's talking about the left mouse button and the right mouse button and how to hold it in your hand, and how to move it around. I just minimize my
lost
window
us.
there.
You just
Yeah,
lost us. There we are.
there I
So,
am. Oh, anyway.
so do you mind if we share the links to your videos and your documents? We have a
No.
wonderful group of kids who come down here during the school year, every other Monday. They call it Silver Tech. And they do the one-on-one stuff. They're much more patient young people than maybe some of our own children and grandchildren. And they'll work with us one-on-one to help do the kind of work that you do. And I'd love to
Absolutely.
let them know about Kitsap Computing Seniors and about the work that you've done, Mary Ann.
And by in reverse, or I know that James Host and James Bromley would love to have some other people who are interested in the hands-on technology part. They wouldn't mind having some help refurbishing computers. And so perhaps some of the people who come down there might also have an interest in, geez, how do you put new RAM chips in a computer? How do you, there's some of this really simple stuff, or comparatively simple stuff, that I always used to refer to it when I was working for the foundations, that girls can do this. Give me a screwdriver and I can open up the back of your computer and I can put new RAM chips in, and it's just like opening up the Tin Woodman's head and pouring the brains in. It makes all the difference in the world, and it's that simple. And you can, double the speed of your computer. So it might very well be that Jim and Jim could use some help doing refurbishing, because
We will put the word out.
If we start getting donations like we would really like to, like those 4 computers that are coming in from the church and the 1 computer that somebody else called me about that he wants to donate, we're going to need more hands to make this work. We're going to need more people to give us computers.
Thank you very much for your time today. And
Sure.
Obviously, if you want to help or if you want to learn more, it's pretty simple to find the website, kitsapcomputing seniors.org.
.org.